Hey everyone, today I'm going to take you through how to record an acoustic song. I'm doing this in Reverb, that's my DAW, my recording software, but this will work for virtually every DAW out there. I'm going to explain the process before we get into it, really simple. And so this is mostly to record an acoustic song or the starting point for more full-featured production. And so what we're going to end up with is a clean guitar track and a clean vocal track. And I'll explain kind of the hows and whys we get there and the reasons I do it the way I do it. So the first thing we're going to do in this process will be to create a Midi drum track. And the Midi drum track is what I record to rather than a click track. I find click tracks to be a little too, just not have enough feel. All a click track is going to provide you is quarter notes. It's just going to go blip, 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 blip. Whereas a Midi drum track can have hi-hats or it can be like right, something with a little more feel. So it's easier to record to. So we're going to do a Midi drum track, and I'll show you how to do that with some free drum software. And then what we do is we record, once we have the Midi drum track, we record a scratch version of the song. And a scratch version of the song is going to be a throwaway version. We're not going to keep it for our final recording. It's going to be me playing guitar and vocals at the same time. And what's important with that is just getting mostly the tempo right and the chord changes correct. Whether or not I forget lyrics or sing it on pitch is irrelevant because we're not keeping it. It's simply a map for the next track that we do. After we have that scratch song track, we'll record a clean guitar track. And all we'll really be doing is listening to our scratch track and the MIDI drums in our headphones and then just playing whatever our guitar part is to get through the song. And the reason we want to do that and record to a scratch track is you can try to record drums or try to record a song or the guitar to a song without singing to it, just having the drums in your ear. But I found that you pretty often lose your place. Like, am I in the second verse? Am I going to the bridge now? And you're having to think about these lyrics in your head. Whereas if you record a scratch song track, now you're just accompanying yourself. And it makes it a lot simpler. Once we have that guitar track, that clean guitar track, we'll mute the scratch track and we'll record the vocals. And at that point, we have a song. We have guitar and vocals and we're ready, it's to tempo. But also from there, we can start to build on it. If we want to add a bass, if we want to add a second guitar, a third guitar, another vocal, a percussion, we can do that. We have the map, we have the core base elements of the song together. So it could be an acoustic song or something that we start to layer other things on top of. So what I want to do is jump right into it, and we're going to take a look at Reaper, and we're going to take you through the process of building this song. So let's jump into it. Alright, so I'm here in Reaper. We're taking a look at it. This is the just basic recording surface for Reaper. I have no tracks arm, nothing set up. And so the first thing I'm going to do is find the tempo for my song before we create the MIDI drum track. So I'm going to go get the tempo. Let me grab my guitar first, just because it'll be easier. Alright, first thing we'll do is we'll get the tempo for the song. And the way I'm going to do this is just start the song. So it's a song called Lady Love. So basically the song tempo is da 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 1 da da da, right? So that's the tempo. So what's cool about Reaper is down here in the right corner you'll see your beats per minute. It's at 120. I know I'm not going to want it there. That's going to be a little too fast. But if you put your mouse above where it says beats per minute, it turns into a tap indicator. And all you have to do is click with your mouse your tempo. So I'm going to give this, I kind of know where it's going to be, but let's take a look at it. Da, 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 da. So I'm just tapping along. So put me right at 112. That's actually where I want the song recorded at. Usually I'm off by one way or the other, but 112, that's perfect. So that's going to give us our tempo. Now we're going to get into putting the MIDI drum track down. So I'm going to put my guitar down. Let's jump into that. So the first thing we want to do is get a track up there. I just double clicked in the track area and it brings in a new track. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my effects here. So I'm going to bring up my effects, and what I want is I'm going to search for, normally it wouldn't have that filter in there, so it would just have this. And so these are all my effects and virtual instruments. There's kind of a whole huge window of them. Reaper lets you narrow them down by what they are, but I'm just going to search for MT Power Drummer. There it is. This is a free drum kit. I'll have a link in the description so you can install that. Very simple to set up. So we're going to add that MT Power Drummer, and if we take a look at it, I'm going to put my headphones on so I can hear what you guys hear. Alright, so we can hear the drums. Now we're not going to play them like that. What we're going to do, that just lets us know that we have MT Power Drummer in here. So the first thing we're going to do is I always want an 8 count lead in. I want 2 measures, and I'm just going to put a kick drum there. And so I highlight those first 2 measures in Reaper. And then I go up here and I choose Insert, New MIDI Item. That's going to give us this little MIDI item. Now I can double click on it. It opens up the MIDI editor. We can see that it's 2 measures and it's broken down by its, quarter notes. And then we have this thing called a piano roll, which isn't that helpful to us when we're using drums, but this would be great if you had a synth or piano. You can click and find the notes you want. You can score it all out in there. But we're looking for the drums. And so what we're going to do is this name notes roll. And then the other thing is that with virtually every drum package that you download, they'll have a map for Reaper or whatever software you're using. MT Power Drummer is no different. So they have a text file that you can add to your software that will show you where the notes go. Because if we click on any of these, we're hitting drums. Well, as you get lower, you don't hear them, but up here we do. And we could probably figure out which drums go to which, but we're not going to have to do that because we can go to this notes file, and right here it says notes, CC names, and I can say load note from file, and here's the MT Power Drummer map for Reaper. Now we can see all the drums that we're going to be using. So here's a kick, and here's a side stick, and here's a snare, there's a tom, hi-hat open, right? Hi-hat half open, hi-hat closed. Okay, once again, we can map out our own beat if we wanted to, but all we're really going to do here is we're going to take a kick drum, and I'm going to create an 8 count lead in, 2 measure lead in. So I just double click on the first quarter note, and then at every spot, I'm just double clicking. Now I've got 4 of them laid out. I could continue to lay out those 4, but I can also right mouse click, drag across those 4 notes. Now they're marked. Hit Control C to copy them. If you're on a Mac, whatever copy is on a Mac, I know there's a similar, I think if it's Command C. Go to the next measure and hit Control V for paste. Now we've got an 8 count lead in. So if I go back to the start and I hit spacebar, and that's going to be how we lead into the song. So now we come back here and we're looking at this, and here's what's cool about MT Power Drummer, and most of these drum software packages that you can get, they have grooves already set up. So I can click on groove, and I'm just going to use a basic 8 note hi-hat, closed hi-hat beat, right? Just a basic 4/4 beat. It's not really right for the song I'm doing. I actually recorded the official song to a slightly different one, but we're not going to go through how I created that. I just want to give you the basics. But you see here that there are a lot of grooves that you have to choose from. So all these, and that's quite a bit, because if we go in here, these are all the 8th note closed hi-hats or hi-hat note, beats that they have. So if I select the first one, they also have intros and fills and things like that. But if I hit the first one and I just go down here, now this is what we're going to use. Very basic. But we could listen to any of these other ones. You'll hear that they have variations. right? Little ghost notes. All right, so that's the idea. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4 bars of that, and I'm going to take this groove and I'm just going to click on the first one and I'm going to drag it up to my MIDI editor. I'll close that. So now what we have is we have an 8-count lead in going to a groove. So let's take a listen to that. Alright, you'll notice that they add a crash at the start of that. I don't really like that. It doesn't help me that much. So I'm going to go to this MIDI item and double click on it. And there's that crash right there. I'm going to drag that down and just make it a half open hi-hat as well. So now I'll just have that, 2 in a row, and then it goes to all these hi-hats, kick, snare, kick, snare. Very basic beat. Okay. So now what we need to do is stretch it out for the duration of our song. And so we don't have to kind of lay this out multiple times. I did 4 measures here. I'm only recording the first verse and a chorus. So I'm going to give myself approximately 2 minutes. So I'm using my wheel mouse to zoom out, pull it back towards you, and right here is 2 minutes. I won't need that much time, but I want to make sure I don't run out of time. So all I did is I grabbed the edge of my MIDI item with my mouse. I'm holding my mouse down. I drag it out as far as I want, and now I've got 2 minutes or so of drum beat that I can record to. Okay? So that's our MIDI drum track, and I'm going to go over here and name this by double clicking on the track identifier, and I'm just going to do SCR for scratch drums. Alright, so that includes our 8-count lead in and the drums. Now we're going to record a scratch guitar track, and I'm going to do that over here where my microphone is. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to double click and add a new track. I'm going to name this SCR for scratch song. That's going to be the guitars and the vocals recorded together. Okay, so we can go back to the start. So what it's going to give us is a way for us to do something like this. We'll get there and record it in a second, but alright, and we'll start playing along with it. But I need to arm my microphone. I'm going to move the camera as well so you can see it a little bit better. So let's go over there. Here's my microphone. Oh, actually, sorry, I need to arm that Track and Reaper. So I've armed my Track and Reaper. One more thing we have to do. I have to set it to analog 2. Alright, now we can see that my signal's coming through. Alright, so now we're going to record the scratch track to the drums, the MIDI drum track. Okay, once again, I'm just recording 1 verse chorus. And for the scratch song, I want to stay in tempo, I want to hit the right chords, but it's not critical whether I make a small mistake as long as I stay in the tempo. And also, if I'm pitchy with my vocals, doesn't matter. If I forget my lyrics and say la la la, as long as it gives me a reasonable map of where I am in the song, we're going to be fine. So let's record that. Never been a gambling man. I've never had luck with my poker hand. Cards and chips always left me cold. A pocket of change, an empty billfold. But I don't mind, 'cause when the moon's above, I'll trade lady luck for lady love. Until you play your hand with the queen of hearts, you can't perceive what a jackpot means. So throw in your chips, you find my wealth in her lid. It's lady love for me. So now I'm going to stop the recording and save it. Okay, so pretty subpar, really. Didn't do a great job, but I'm still going to be able to use it, I think. So let me get back over and show you how I get it ready so I can record the next part. Alright, so we're back in Reaper, and I have the scratch song done. And it's going to be pretty quiet. I'm going to mute my drums, but if we listen to it back. Alright, pretty quiet. So I want to do some things to make sure I can hear it, even though it was a horrible recording. But I think it'll still work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the effects. I'm going to add 2 effects to it. I'm going to say, I really only need one, but I'm going to say I want to add RIA. Typing RIA, I want to add RIA comp and RIA EQ. That's Reaper's compression and parametric EQ. Alright, I'll take the EQ and move it up. Now I want to listen to the song and show the compressor. Bring this down so the compressor engages. We'll cover compression in another episode or lesson. And then I'm going to raise the wet signal, which is going to raise that. Still pretty quiet. I'm going to raise the volume up here on the track itself. Alright, so there we go. Now we can bring the drums back in. I'll lower the drums a little bit. Alright, good enough. That's what we're going to record to. So now I have a scratch song track. I didn't even really need the EQ. I didn't use it for anything, but it doesn't matter. Now I have a scratch song track that I can record guitar to. So what we're going to do is add a new track. We're going to arm it rather than me being over there to arm it. I'm going to type in, this is going to be our guitar, GTR01. Now I use these prefixes, first of all, so that I don't have these long drawn out things that I need to type, but secondly, I also, one of the things that Reaper has is this SWS extensions that you can download for free, and it has this color icon layout tool where you put in the filter or what it's going to find in the track, and it's going to, based on what's in that track, so I've got scratch and I've got GTR for guitar, it's going to put a guitar icon on the track, and it's going to put it's going to color the track. So if I apply it, now the guitar tracks are red, the scratch tracks are that green, and you'll see when vocals I do the same thing. So that's not what we're covering, that's just the reason I do that. And it just keeps things nice and organized. Alright, so I've armed that track. I need to put it on analog 2. Let's turn on the phantom power to my microphone. Alright, we can see it's picking up signal. So now I'm going to go back over there to record the guitar part for this song. Just listening to the scratch song track so we know where we are. So that's the purpose of that. Let's go back to the start. Put our cursor back to the start and hit the back arrow. And let's take these things off our screen. Okay. Also, another thing before I go do that, notice that our song ends here, roughly. I'm going to stop the recording. Okay, let's see. It ends right there. So it ends on this note. That's drum right there. If I zoom into it and I make this larger, we can see a little bit of more of the waveform. So that's where it ends. That's the last little strum. So we don't need all these drums over here. I'm going to zoom out, grab the end of the drums, drag them back, and I only want the last little hit here. I just want this. But I've got the snap to grid on. I could either turn that off, which lets me move things more fluidly. When scratch to grid is on, it's going to move section by section. But even without the without turning that off, keeping the scratch or keeping the snap grid on, I can hold down left shift, and then it lets me just drag it over fluidly and just get those last notes so that it ends. Now we're not worried about keeping this, so fading it out is kind of irrelevant. So I'll put my cursor here. I'm going to hit S. That's going to put a split. And I just deleted the rest of it. So now it just ends here. So now we're ready to record our guitar track. The reason I want to get rid of the drums is when I'm recording the guitar track and I let it ring out at the end, it's very possible if I had let the drums go that you might hear some bleed in your guitar, and you want to avoid that as much as possible. So this should work for what we need to do. So we're going to get ready and record that. Alright, so the track is armed. I'm going to position my mic, and this you want to play around with quite a bit depending on your guitar, the sound you want. Pretty easy to do though, just move the mic around, test where you want it. So they always say around the 12th fret. I tend to have a super bassy guitar, so I try and, they sometimes say 4, 5, 6 inches away. I'll be a foot away because my bass notes on this guitar tend to really kind of overrun the mic even when it's at a low level, so I just avoid that, okay? I've got to move my cursor back, I see, in Reaper, so let's see. See if I can do that with my keyboard here. Let's get all the way back to the start. There we go, we're at the start. If I hit spacebar, we can listen. Pretty low on the drums, I might turn that up a little bit. Now that's going to be fine. So I'm going to record to that. That's what I'm going to record to. So let's get that going. Alright, that's our guitar track. So let me stop that, save that, and let me get back over there so we can get the guitar track ready and at a volume that we'll be able to record our last track, which will be our vocals. We are back at Reaper and we have our guitar track now. And I'm going to take the same effects that I had on the song track, I'm going to drag them down onto Reaper so that I have compression and an EQ. I can now mute this track, I'm not going to need it. I'll keep the drum track for now. And I'm going to mute the scratch drum track for now, and let's just take a look at what this sounds like. So this is kind of the intro right here. Pretty quiet. Turn that up a little bit. And take a pre-built EQ here. And good enough. So we can hear there's what we're going to record our vocals to. Alright, great. Good enough. So once again, we're going to go down here and we're going to add a new track. I'm going to give it the same thing I've done before, a prefix of VXM, that's vocals main. Call it 01. Choose input of analog 2, the mono 2. Turn off that so we don't have two tracks armed. We can go back to our drum track, unmute it. I don't want it to be too loud though, let's just hear it. Alright, close enough, 4 horseshoes. I'm also going to go back here to my extension just because and add the color and we see the main vocals have become green. There we go. So I have colors for all different instrument types: drums, bass, keyboards, percussion, backing vocals, lead guitar. So there's a whole variety of things that I use. So we'll do that, another lesson on that another day. But this will get us ready to record, and we can arm the track. And I just need to set up to record my vocals. So let's go do that. Alright, so I'm just sitting in my chair. I wouldn't normally do it this way, but I use the cajon that I was sitting on when I was recording guitar, and I raised up the microphone. And so I'm going to take my pop filter, put it in front here, my microphone, and I've got my keyboard down here so I can start it. So the track is armed. So now I'm going to keep the drums going, but we're going to hear my guitar, and I'll be recording my vocals, and that will give us guitar and vocals and basically something we could build on. So let's take a listen, or let's take a look at that. Control R is record. I've never been a gambling man. I've never had luck with my poker hand. Cards and chips always left me cold. A pocket of change and empty billfold. But I don't mind, 'cause when the moon's above, I'll trade lady luck for lady love. Until you play your hand with the queen of hearts, you can't perceive what a jackpot means. So throw in your chips, you'll find more wealth in her lips. It's lady love for me. And we can end the recording right there. So now I'm going to get back over to Reaper. We'll finish this up all over there. I'm not going to do any more things over here at the microphone. And we'll finish up this song. Alright, now one of the things I recommend that you do... Oh, I'm going to turn the power of my microphone off so nothing else gets picked up. But one of the things you really want to do that I have not done is save your project. I save it before I even start recording. So I should have saved it earlier. And I'm just going to call this... 1202, it's the second, yes. Lady Love recording lesson. Now, let's go down and let's just mute the drums and just go to the song part. I can get rid of that selection. I'm going to put the same effects on here for now. See where the vocals end up. I've never been a gambling man. I've never had luck with my poker hand. Cards and chips always left me cold. A pocket of change and empty billfold. But I don't mind, 'cause when the moon's above, I'll trade lady luck for lady love. Until you play your hand with the queen. Okay, so we have a basic acoustic song there. Now, there's some things that have to be done to everything to kind of make things a little nicer. One thing that we'll do, first of all, we don't need all this empty space, so I'll just drag that out, drag that out. The other thing I'm going to do is at the end of the song here, there's where it ends, right there. Hear that? That's going to fade out. I've got some stuff at the end here, so we're going to get rid of that too. We can go to here. One of the things I'm going to drag my track and make it larger. Reaper has, it's kind of nice. Most of these DAWs do, so. But this is just a fade out. So I'm going to drag that back to where I hit that last strum. And then you can go here and you can modify the shape. See how I hold my mouse and it looks like a little bend or curved. Two arrows on either side and kind of a curved arrow. Right mouse click and I'll choose this fade. That seems pleasant enough. Okay, maybe too fast. can drag that out a little bit. Good enough for a lesson, right? You can figure that out. So now what do we need to do to make our vocals sound a little better? So if I mute or if I just solo by hitting that S. I've never been a gambling man. I've never had luck with my poker. Mariah Carey, watch out. No. So here we go. We want to do something else to it. Now normally I would do this on a separate bus, but we're going to go here and we're going to look for Epic. And I'm going to grab this Epic Verb. This is a reverb. I can go in here and it has a bunch of presets. You can see I don't even know what this does. I see it does a delay time of 1541. Early reflection, some dampening. Okay, so let's hear what this sounds like. Okay. So the reason it sounds like that, all echoey, is we're only on the wet signal, because by default, that's if we were normally to do this on a separate bus, if you're unfamiliar with buses, it's a separate track where we could route our vocals through and back. We would want what comes back to be all reverb, and we'd mix it in with our dry track. But since we're adding the reverb to this track, I need to mix in some of the dry signal. So let's take a listen to it again. And now if I go down here, we can hear my dry signal coming in. But there's still reverb. Maybe too much. Change and empty billfold, but I don't mind, 'cause when the moon's above, I'll trade Lady Luck for Lady Luck. That's not unpleasant. Let's see whether I'd listen to it on the big speakers and want that, but how it sounds right now is not horrible. So let's take a look. There's some other things we could do. We could do a low and high pass filter, some other EQ on that, reverb. I'll show you that in another lesson on how I control that. But so let's take a listen to it again. I've never been again. And we're going to turn the reverb off. I've never had luck with my poker hand. That's the dry signal. Cards and chips always left me cold. A pocket of change and empty billfold, but I don't mind, 'cause when the moon... So now let's hear what that sounds like over the guitars. I've never been a gambling man. I've never had luck with my poker hand. Cards and chips always left me cold. A pocket of change and empty billfold. And by the way, we can add reverb to guitar. So we can go right here and go in and say, let's add the same Epic reverb. And so now here's our guitar track reverb. And we can find just something here that might be correct. I wonder if they even have something for acoustic guitars. I'm not sure if they do. Got some weird ones here. I wonder what sophisticated sounds like. That's extra long though. We don't want an extra long reverb on our guitar. So I'm going to do the vocal. I'm actually going to use the same exact reverb, but once again it's all wet, so if we listen to the guitar and we solo it, bring in our dry signal. Alright, let's hear what it sounds like without it. So it gives it a little more body maybe. So now we've got a little reverb. We're not really going to apply anything else, but let's take a listen to what we have here. So this is about where the song starts. So now what I can do is right mouse click, right arrow. I can create that, a little cut, delete that, go right here and zoom in. My first note really starts right there probably a little teeny bit before the first beat. So I'm going to left shift, drag this over, and I'll actually do a little lean into that just to smoothen out the intro. Oh, I haven't soloed, silly me. So the other thing I want to do is I'm going to go up here and go View, Master Track, just so we can see this. I've never been a gambling man. I've never had luck with my poker hand. Cards and chips always left me cold. A pocket of change and empty billfold. But I don't mind, 'cause when the moon's above, I'll trade lady luck for lady love. Until you play your hand with the queen of hearts, you can't perceive what a jack... Alright, we don't have to listen to the whole thing. I think you get the idea. So kind of what we've done here, once again, just to recap, we laid out a scratch drum track, just something we could record to with a little more feel than a click track. We laid down a scratch song. This was just a way for us to map out where we were in the song so that we could record a clean drum track to it. We recorded our drum track and recorded our vocals. Now if we wanted to, we could add backing vocals, we could add a second guitar, we could add a shaker, percussion, whatever else we want, tambourine, virtually any other instruments, including Midi instruments. So this forms the basis for recording, completing a project, or at least starting a project, or recording your music acoustically and doing a little better job of it. If you have any questions about what I covered, feel free to ask in the comments. I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, if you like the video, shared it with about 1 million of your friends that want to learn how to record music. That would be great as well. But we're planning to do a few more of these. I want to kind of take you over, have you sit over my shoulder and watch me record some of my music as I'm trying to get this stuff put together in a more professional sounding way. So we'll be covering a lot more topics in the future. But anyways, I really appreciate you tuning in, and we'll be back at you in probably a couple days. See ya. But I don't mind, 'cause when the moon's above, I'll trade lady luck for lady love. Until you play your hand with the queen of hearts, you can't perceive what a jackpot means. So throw in your chips, you'll find more wealth in her lips. It's lady love for me.